Can you hear? Priya, Amulya, Navaneet, can you hear me? Yes, they can. BB, just check what is the problem. Maybe it's some problem with your system. Okay, just check. Okay. How many of you? 8. So shall we just go through what we were learning? Let all of them join. Some more are remaining. Solomon. Who else? Felina, Iron. Jagannath won't be there today, right? Okay. So shall we start? What all did we learn? We started with human health. Hope you remember it. We discussed the concept of health, WHO's definition of health. We have seen the different types of pathogens, different types of diseases, right? We have seen bacterial diseases. One was salmonella, right? Typhoid, salmonella, typhi. Then we have seen pneumonia, the 2 bacterial diseases we discussed. There were many others, but the details of it is not there in your textbook, but we had discussed it for your entrance part. Okay. Then after that, we have seen certain viral diseases, we have seen certain protozoan diseases, and out of that, malaria is very, very important. You have to learn the life cycle. Make sure you have learned the life cycle of malarial parasite to draw and to mark. Okay, and after that, we have talked about certain helminthic infections, right? Helminthic ascariasis and elephantiasis or filariasis. Those are the 2 diseases we have discussed. Then finally, we have seen some fungal diseases, epidermophyton, trichophyton, right? That cause certain ringworm diseases. Okay, those are fungal diseases. Then I asked you to do a homework, that is prevention, right? I think most of you have submitted it. Prevention of disease. All of you have written it, right? How can you prevent? What is personal hygiene? What is public hygiene? Did you look through it? I think you have submitted it. Yes or no? Please respond. Have you submitted that prevention? I asked you to write. All of you have submitted. BV, Aisha, Navaneet. Yes, you have. Okay. Then after that, where are the rest of them? Iron is not present. Felina. Okay. Then after that, we have talked about cancer, AIDS, right? The 2 diseases we have discussed. The cause of it, the types, diagnosis, prevention, test, everything we have discussed. So shall we come to the next part? Shall we come? So who are the missing people? Who's a new person has joined? Okay, let me see. Okay, who are the missing people? Just a minute. Okay, Felina is absent, right? Felina is not there. Solomon has joined. Okay, Felina and Iron. Okay. So shall we start? We're going to start with today's topic. That is Devika. Good morning. Okay. So the next heading is immunity. What about Surya? Has Surya joined? Surya, are you there? Surya is missing, right? Surya, you are there. Okay. So this is immunity. Okay. The next heading is immunity. Good morning. So what is immunity? You have to find a definition first. As usual, there's a definition, right? So surrounding us in the environment, you can find a number of microorganisms waiting to attack us, right? But our body needs some defense mechanisms in order to withstand those pathogens, in order to fight against those pathogens. We need some defense mechanisms. So we are going to talk about the defense of our body today. It's very, very important, especially during this time. We need a huge amount of immunity. People always talk about immune boosting drugs, right? How to boost your immune system, how to develop a good immunity is very, very, very important these days. So we are taking this chapter at the correct time. Okay, so what is immunity? The first one, take your textbook and underline that definition. The overall ability of the host to fight disease causing organisms. Okay, so you can just write it like this: the overall ability of the host to fight against, okay, to fight against disease causing organisms. You can call this immunity. So this is what is called immunity. Okay, and any foreign particle that enters your body, you can call it antigen. Okay, so any foreign particle, it might be a dust particle, it might be a microbe, it could be any other substance, maybe any foreign substance, even a foreign organ can act as an antigen. Is this okay? So any foreign substance that enters your body, you can call it antigen. So when an antigen enters your body will produce antibodies. Okay, so your immunity is based upon antigen antibody reaction. Okay, so this is what is immunity. If your antibodies win, you will not have a disease. Okay, if your antibodies are not able to fight off the antigen, you will have the disease. Is this fine? It's as simple as that. Antigen antibody reactions take place in immunity. Now, after this, so we have seen what is immunity. It's an overall ability of the host. Host means the organism into which the antigen enters is called the host. Okay, so the overall ability of the host to fight against disease causing organisms, you can call that immunity. Is this okay? And what is the main thing that takes place there? Antigen, these are foreign substances that enter your body. When a foreign substance enters your body will produce antibodies. So the main thing that goes on during an immune response is antigen antibody interaction. Hope this is clear. This is the first point. Is it clear, everybody? What is immunity and what happens during immunity? Is this fine? Okay, everybody has followed. There are 10 of you. I need 10 yeses right now. Okay, is this followed? The first point. Okay, the next one. The next point is types of immunity. So there are various types of immunity. So that is your next point. There are two types actually. One is called innate immunity, and the other is called acquired immunity. Okay, so what are the different types of immunity? There are two types. One is called innate and the other is called acquired. So as the word indicates, innate refers to something that you already have, you're born with it. Okay, so right from birth, the immunity that you have is called innate, you're born with it. You might have heard about innate ability, something you're born with. Some people are born with the ability to sing. Some of them are born with the ability to draw. Nobody needs to teach them, right? So such a skill that you're born with, or such a immunity that you're born with, is called innate immunity. So you can just write down a few things. Innate immunity is non-specific. It is not for one specific pathogen. It is a general immunity. Okay, non-specific type of defense. So this is not against one particular pathogen. It is a general immunity. Okay, and it is present at the time of birth. Present at the time of birth. So when you're born with innate immunity. Is this okay? And if some children don't have that innate immunity, they can fall sick a number of times. right? It might even be life-threatening. So you should have an innate immunity. Okay, and this is mainly by certain barriers. Your body has certain barriers, so that a pathogen has to pass through all these barriers before it can attack you. Is this okay? And we are going to talk about 4 main barriers. So in your body, right from your outer part, the skin is acting like a barrier. Underneath your skin, there are many layers that will act as a barrier. Okay, there are WBC cells that will prevent infection, so that is also a barrier. There are cytokine barriers, so we are going to see the various barriers that prevent diseases. Okay, so you're born with all these things, and there are mainly 4 barriers, and this is actually a 2-mark question. For your CBSE board examination, this is usually asked as a 2-mark question. Okay, there are 4 points. So shall we see the barriers? There are 4 barriers for immunity. Shall we see them, everybody? Okay, I'll write it here. The 4 barriers. Then we'll come to acquired. The first barrier, it is called physical barrier. The first barrier is called a physical barrier. So as the word indicates, those are some physical structures that will prevent the entry of antigens or any foreign substance, right? For example, your skin. Your skin is covering the whole of your body. So it is actually preventing foreign substances from entering your body. So that is the first point. There are some physical barriers, right? And if you look at your nose, your nasal or nasal passage, what will you find? You find some slimy substance across, right? What is that called? That is also a barrier. There are small hairs in your inside your nostrils, right? And there's a mucus covering. So mucus is also a physical barrier. So write down these 2 examples. Okay, what are the physical barriers? One is skin, the other is mucus, and it is preventing antigens from entering your body. Do you agree to it, everybody? Okay, so this is your first defense, first line of defense, and it's a very strong defense also. Look at the second one. Just imagine a microbe or an antigen has penetrated your skin, penetrated the mucus layer. Okay, you need another line of defense, right? Those are called physiological barriers. Physiological barriers. That is your second line of defense. So, who are these people? There are acids in your stomach, right? Just imagine you are eating some food and some microbe has penetrated, it has gone through, right? It has gone through the mucus, it has gone through the skin, it has come to your stomach. So what will your stomach do? There are acids in the stomach that will destroy them. So you can just note down acids in the stomach. That is one physiological barrier, right? Then tears in your eyes. Tears in your eyes. It's not for crying and wasting it, right? What are the tears for? They're actually acting as a second barrier of immunity. So tears. It's protecting your eyes. So don't waste your tears, right? Tears in your eyes prevent microbial growth. Saliva in your mouth. Saliva. Right? So all these are acting as physiological barriers. Is this fine? So the first 2 barriers are okay, right? Physical barriers and physiological barriers. Okay, then you have, shall I rub this off? Okay. The next barrier, the third barrier, that is your third level of defense. Just imagine a microbe has penetrated your skin. It has escaped the acids of the stomach, the tears and saliva. Okay, just imagine the microbe has entered your body. You need another type of defense, right? So that is called cellular barrier. There are certain specialized cells in your body that will fight against infections, right? You might have heard about WBC cells. Have you heard about WBC? White blood cells. Just like RBC, which is red blood cell, white blood cells are for fighting against infections. Okay, so we'll be discussing about leukocyte. That is the word. Leukocytes. That is WBC cells. Okay, you can call them white blood cells. Is this okay? And some examples are given in your textbook. Some examples of leukocytes. One is polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Okay, so we are discussing the examples of leukocytes. The first one is polymorphonuclear leukocytes. You can call them PMNL. Okay, and these include neutrophils. Last year we have learned it. Hope you remember them. Neutrophils, eosinophils. Hope you remember them. Basophils. Okay, so these are included in polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Hope you remember them. We have categorized them. We have seen the different shapes of that nucleus. So all these things we have learned last year. Circulation, right? Then there is another one. Okay, so this is the first example. Polymorphonuclear leukocytes, or you can call them PMNL. The examples of them are neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. This is the first type of leukocyte. Okay, the second type you can call them monocytes. Okay, monocytes, they are one of the largest type of leukocytes. So just make a note of it. Okay, monocytes, one of the largest. And they will differentiate and give you macrophages. When monocytes differentiate and develop, you'll get macrophages. Remember macrophages? We have heard about macrophages yesterday. Do you remember? No, day before we have learned it. Do you remember macrophages? I told you the function of a macrophage. What was the function? What was the function of macrophage? We used a word for it. Please respond. What was the word we used? We have learned it in AIDS. Phagocytotic, right? Phagocytic, BV, very good. Phagocytic. Monocytes. So monocytes, one of the largest, they can differentiate and form macrophages. Okay, so we can write macrophages. Right, macrophages, they are phagocytotic. They will eat up the cells. Right, they will swallow the other antigens that are coming in. Okay, so macrophages, monocytes. Then there are some others called the killer cells. Those are also coming in leukocytes. Okay, I'll just rub this off. Okay, the next category is killer cells. So these are the killers, right? When an antigen comes in, they will finish off those antigen. You have two types, B cells and T cells. Okay, so the killer cells are B cells and T cells. Is this fine, everybody? The cellular barrier is okay. So what are the cellular barriers? Mainly leukocytes, they are WBC cells. Which is the first example? PMNL, polymorphonuclear leukocytes. Right? Examples are neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. Then there are monocytes, which are one of the largest leukocytes. They can differentiate and form macrophages. And macrophages, they are mainly phagocytotic in nature. Okay, they will swallow or engulf the incoming antigens. And then there are killer cells, which actually finish off the antigens, right? Those are the B cells and T cells. Is this fine? Everybody has got this? The three barriers: physical, physiological, cellular. There is one more. The last one. Okay. The last barrier. I'll write it here. Okay. There's one more barrier. Okay. The fourth one. It is called cytokine barrier. Okay, the cytokine barrier. So just imagine a virus has entered your body and it has infected one particular cell. Okay, so just imagine a virus has entered your body, it is infecting one particular cell. That cell will produce certain proteins. Okay, so the cell that is infected with a virus, it is going to secrete a protein. Okay, it is going to secrete a protein. Whichever cell is infected by a virus, it is going to secrete a protein, and that protein is called interferons. Okay, so what do you call that protein? This is a 1-mark question. Okay, CBSE 1-mark question. Interferons. So this is a special protein that is secreted by cells infected with a virus. Is this okay? So what does this protein do? It is acting like a message. It is sending a message to the other non-infected cells. Okay, so the cell that is infected with a virus is going to send out a message to the other cells that I have been affected by a virus. Okay, you please take care. Okay, a virus is in our system. So that message is sent by interferons. Hope you understood this. Hope you understood this. This is a message that an infected cell will send out to the other non-infected cells so that they can prepare themselves for that virus. Is this fine, everybody? Is this okay? So hope you have understood what are interferons. This is a 1-mark CBSE question. Everybody has followed this? Yes? So just go through innate immunity. That is it regarding innate immunity, the first type. Okay, so what is innate immunity? Something that you are born with. It is non-specific. Okay, it is not for one particular pathogen. It is we are talking about a general immunity. And what are those? There are some barriers that nature has provided you with, right? It could be your skin, which is a physical barrier. It could be a mucus layer, that is a physical barrier again. Inside your body, there are acids, right? You can secrete tears from your eyes. There is saliva in your mouth. All those are coming in physiological barriers. Then, if the antigen has passed through all those barriers, there comes a third barrier. Right? What is that third barrier? It is called the cellular barrier. There are specialized cells to fight against diseases. Those specialized cells are called WBC, white blood cells. Okay, and there are a number of white blood cells. Some examples we have learned. One is PMNL. That full form, please learn. Okay, this can come as a 1-mark question. PMNL, polymorphonuclear leukocytes. And some examples of that are neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Okay, and one of the largest leukocytes are monocytes, and the last one, let us macrophages. It's the monocyte that will differentiate and form macrophages. Macrophages are phagocytotic in nature. This can also be asked, okay? And this we have learned in AIDS, right? The AIDS virus is first affecting the macrophages. Hope it's okay. And the last barrier is the cytokine barrier. If a cell is infected by a virus, that cell is going to secrete a protein, and that protein is called interferon. What is the use of that interferon? It's actually acting like a signal. It's signaling the other non-affected cells so that they can prepare for that infection. Okay, so these are your barriers. So this is innate immunity. Quickly read through it. Take page number 150. Find out, underline all these things in your textbook right now. Then we'll come to acquired immunity. Do it very fast. Take page number 150. Read it very quickly, okay? And mark all these things. Wherever I've given the marks, please mark it in your textbook. Okay? Don't write it in your notebook, mark it in your text. Iron, are you there? Iron and Felina, have you joined? No. When did you join? You were late. What about Iron? When did you join? Join at the correct time. I've been asking you to do that. Felina, you were there from the beginning, were you? Iron, you were there. Iron, when did you join the class? When did you join the class, Iron? Join at the correct time, okay? Don't become late. This is your official class that is going on. All these things. 15 minutes late. Why? Why 15 minutes late, Iron? Why 15 minutes late? Kind of sick, Iron. You just log in and put the system in front of you, right? Okay. Lie down on a bed and just watch it. Don't miss the class, okay? Don't miss it. Okay. So have you read it? Okay, that's fine, Iron. So is it done? Everybody? Innate immunity is fine? Okay, Surya, Navneet, Devika, BV. Okay, that's fine. Shall we come to the next one? Acquired immunity. So the second type of immunity we are talking about is acquired immunity. Okay, so you are not getting it at the time of birth, you are acquiring it during the lifetime. Okay, so you can just write down it is not acquired, it is not present at birth. Okay, this type of immunity is not present at birth, but is acquired during your lifetime. Okay, so you're going to acquire that immunity during your lifetime. You're going to see how exactly you acquire it. Okay, and this is pathogen specific. It is for one specific pathogen. Okay, so imagine you had chicken pox before, right? When you were a small kid, imagine you were affected by chicken pox. Most of the time, your inside your body, there will be some memory cells. It will remember that pathogen. So next time the chickenpox virus enters your body, it will remember it and fight against it much better. Okay, so the chances that you get chickenpox the next time is very rare. It's not that you will not get it, but most of the time you are saved. Okay, so did you understand this? Once you have one particular disease, for example, chickenpox, once you have it, the next time, the chances that you get it the next time are very, very less. Is this okay? That is because inside your body, there are certain cells called memory cells. They will remember the pathogen and they will fight against it with much more force. So the pathogen will not win the second time. Okay, first time your body can be tricked, but second time the body will be fully prepared to deal with it. Is this fine? So such an immunity is called acquired immunity. Okay, so we'll just write it like this. And this is based on memory. Okay, so just make a note of this. This is based on memory. Okay, and first time, imagine the first time a particular antigen, is entering your body. Okay, for example, chickenpox virus is entering your body. Just imagine that first time. Okay, it's the first time your body is experiencing a chickenpox virus. So what will your body do? It will have primary response. Okay, that is called primary response. So the first time an antigen is entering your body, the body will have something called a primary response, and that primary response is of low intensity. The reason is your body is not familiar with that antigen. The body does not know how to fight it. Okay, so the intensity will be very less. The intensity with which they fight will be very less. So the chances are that you will get that disease the first time. Is this okay? But The second time the same virus is entering your body, the things are different. Okay, this time the body is fully prepared. It knows exactly who's coming in. So the second response, that is called secondary response. Okay, second time the antigen enters. The same antigen, okay, the second time the same antigen enters your body. The response that you get is called secondary response. It's not primary now, it's secondary. Yeah, and the secondary response will be of high intensity. Your body will fight against this pathogen with all force because it exactly knows who this is, right? So it exactly knows how to fight it. Okay, so it's just like your exams, right? If you are not prepared for your examination, what will happen? You're not familiar with the questions, you fail. But if you're fully prepared for the examination, nothing is a surprise for you, right? You'll attack the questions with full force, you'll get the full marks. Hope you understood it, right? So this is the power of preparation. Your body is teaching you. The moral of the story is be prepared, right? Everybody has got this. This is the moral of the story that you can learn from acquired immunity. Okay, so primary response and secondary response. Secondary response will be of high intensity, and this secondary response is also called anamnestic response. Okay, so please note down that word, anamnestic response. Okay, this is also called secondary response. So please note down these two words, and this could be asked for 1 mark. What is primary response and what is secondary response, right? And which is more high intensity response? It is secondary, and it's also called anamnestic response. Note down this word, okay? Secondary response is also called anamnestic response. Is this okay? Now shall we see why all these responses are coming in your body? Who is helping in those responses? Shall we see it? Is this fine, the first paragraph? Everybody? Is it okay? Now, who's responsible for this? Right? Who's helping us fight all these things? Who's helping us with the acquired immunity? So we are going to see that. So the next paragraph, the primary and the secondary responses are because of certain specialized cells. You have your primary response, you have your secondary response, and all these responses are because of certain specialized cells. You call them lymphocytes. Okay, you are calling them lymphocytes, and these are present in your blood. So there are two types of lymphocytes. One is called B lymphocytes and the other is called T lymphocytes. Okay, so there are two types of lymphocytes in your body. One is called B lymphocyte, the other is called T lymphocyte. B lymphocytes, see, when they come in contact with a particular antigen, they will produce certain special proteins. Okay, they are going to produce certain special proteins which is going to fight against those antigens. And those special proteins, you call them antibodies. So these cells are involved with production of antibodies. Antibodies are special proteins. Is this okay? So when your body is affected by a specific antigen is any foreign particle, your B lymphocytes are going to secrete a special protein. And what do you call that special protein? These are called antibodies. Okay. And T lymphocytes, they do not secrete antibodies, but they help B lymphocytes. We'll see how they are helping. Okay. So they are not secreting antibodies, but what do? They are actually helping B lymphocytes with their work. Is this fine? Is this okay? So which are the cells that are helping in primary and secondary immune response? Everybody please answer. Which are the cells that help in primary and secondary immune response? Put the answer, everybody. All 11 answers should be there. Not yes. Write the answer. Felina, lymphocyte. Okay, everybody put the answer. Just type in lymphocyte. Lymphocytes. Okay, which are the two types of lymphocytes? Which are the two types of lymphocytes? B and T, right? Don't write it as BT and B and T, right? Is this fine? B lymphocyte will secrete antibodies. T lymphocytes are helping B lymphocytes. Okay, done? Now, we are going to see the structure of an antibody. So, the next one is structure of an antibody. I told you B lymphocytes are secreting antibodies. In your textbook on page number 151, you can see that structure. So, we'll just draw that. It usually comes for 3 marks. The structure of an antibody can be a 3-mark question for your board examination. Okay. So, structure of an antibody molecule. You can call them immunoglobulins. I told you they are special proteins. Okay. Globulin protein, right? Okay. So, these are called immunoglobulins. Antibodies, they are special proteins. Okay, and what are those called? Immunoglobulin. And look at the shape. What shape can you find? Everybody, look at the diagram and tell me what shape that is. How does it look like? What is the shape? Shape of an immunoglobulin. How does it look like? How does it look like? Everybody, what do you think is the shape? Funnel. Okay, funnel. Y, right, Devika? It's called a Y-shaped molecule. Okay, it is called a Y-shaped molecule. So when you draw it, it looks somewhat like this. Okay, so it looks somewhat like this. This is how it is going to look like. And here you can find some specialized things. Okay, so this is the shape. It looks like a Y-shaped molecule. And you can see that there are, this big one is called heavy chain. So you can see that there are 2 heavy chains, right? And you can see that there are 2 small ones, and these are called the light chains. Is this fine? So 2 heavy chains and 2 light chains. Is this okay? So such a molecule, you can call it, you can write it as H2L2. So this is how you represent an immunoglobulin, H2L2. 2 heavy chains and 2 light chains. Is this fine? These are the light chains and these big ones are the heavy chains. Is it okay? Is this fine? And you can see that there's a demarcation like this. Okay, you can see that there's a demarcation like this, and this part, I'll just shade it like this. Okay, so the unshaded region, is called variable region. Okay, so whatever is unshaded, whatever I have not shaded, that is the variable region. And whatever regions I have shaded, that is called constant region. So please note down, okay? Whatever I have not shaded, so this is the variable region. All these are the variable regions. Okay, and all these are the constant regions. Is it fine? All these are the constant regions. Okay. So how will you represent this one? You can represent it as VL, right? Variable region of the light chain. So this is Cl, constant region of the light chain. Okay, so how will you represent this? Vh, variable region of the heavy chain. Okay, Ch, variable region of the constant region of the heavy chain. Hope you understood this. So you can represent it as VL, Cl, VH, Ch. This is VH, Ch, VL, Cl. Hope you understood this. This is how you name it. And can you see that there are disulfide bonds between them? Right? Sulfur-sulfur bonds. We can find it everywhere. The sulfur-sulfur bonds. Okay? You can find it in between these also. There are sulfur-sulfur bonds in between them. There are sulfur-sulfur bonds among those chains and in between the chains too. So please note that, okay? This is very, very important. We can draw those sulfur-sulfur chains everywhere. Okay? So there are lots of sulfur-sulfur chains everywhere, okay? In the heavy chain, variable chain, everywhere you will find disulfide bonds. So the next thing is disulfide bonds are present. In the heavy region, in the variable region, and in between those chains also you will find them. Is this okay? So here also, right? In between also you will find it. Is this fine, everybody? Up till here it's fine. So it's a Y-shaped molecule. Immunoglobulins, they are Y-shaped. And there are two heavy chains and two variable chains. So you can call it H2L2. Okay, now just take the light chain. The small one is called the light chain. If you look at the light chain, there's a variable region and a constant region. So you can mark it as VL, variable region of the light chain. CL, constant region of the light chain. If you take the heavy chain, which is bigger, you will also find variable and constant regions. Okay, so you can write it as VH, variable region of the heavy chain. Okay, CH, constant region of the heavy chain. Okay, is this much fine? And in between the heavy chains you can find disulfide bond. In the heavy chain you can find disulfide bond. In the variable chain you can find disulfide bonds. Between those heavy and light chains you can find disulfide bonds. Okay, so lots of regions where you find disulfide bonds. Is this fine? Everybody has got up till this. Please respond. Is this much clear? Okay. If there's any doubt up till here, please tell me. BV, Ria, Aisha, where are you people? Did you follow it? Solomon? No, Solomon is there. Okay. Amulya. So this is clear, right? Up till here. Now, what is the next one? You can see that there are some depressions here. I'll just rub this off so that it's clear. Okay. You can see some structures here, right? So these are some binding regions. On every immunoglobulin, you'll find an antigen binding site. Okay, so this region is called antigen binding site. So it is with this region, it is going to attach to that antigen. Antigen is that foreign substance that has entered your body. Okay, so only if it is able to bind with that antigen, it's able to destroy the antigen. So imagine an antigen with, okay, so this is an antigen, and this antigen has some special proteins on top of it, and it looks like this. Okay, now your antibody is coming here, so it is able to bind with the structure, right? So this antigen and antibody will bind, and then the antibody will destroy the antigen. Okay, this is called antigen antibody interaction. But what if it is not able to bind with this? It will not be able to destroy it. Okay, so this correct shape, And this antigen binding site, there's one specific name for it. It is called paratope. Okay, this antigen binding site is called paratope. And the special protein that is found on the antigen, you call it epitope. Okay, the specific protein that is found on the antigen, you call it epitope. The antigen binding site that you find on the immunoglobulin, you call it paratope. So this epitope and paratope should bind. Only then antigen antibody reaction will take place. Okay, so this is your antibody. This is your antibody, right? So what happens? I told you, right? When maybe your common cold rhinovirus is entering, the rhinovirus may have some epitopes like this. So this is a rhinovirus. So it has an epitope. Okay. Now your immunoglobulin, the Y-shaped molecule, has arrived on the scene. So it is carrying a paratope like this. Usually it is able to bind. I will draw this as a little more bigger one, right? So it has okay, it has those paratopes here. Usually the paratope and epitope should be able to bind, but as soon as the immunoglobulin is coming near your rhinovirus, it has undergone some mutation, okay, and it will change the shape of that epitope. It has become like this. Okay, so your immunoglobulin is not able to bind, so it will send another immunoglobulin with a paratope like this so that it's able to bind. Okay, but the moment this immunoglobulin comes here, it's going to change its shape. The epitope is going to change the shape like this. Okay, what happened, Surya? Okay, so this is how I'm telling you how the immunoglobulin is attacking an antigen. Okay, so just imagine. I'll tell it once again. Surya, just listen. Imagine a rhinovirus. Rhinovirus, which is your common cold virus. It has entered. And as I told you, this is an antigen, right? So this is called an antigen. Any foreign substance that enters your body, it's an antigen. So what happens here? This is the epitope. Okay, on that antigen, there are epitopes. And your immunoglobulin is going to come and attack it. So this immunoglobulin has paratope like this. It's going to attack. So what will happen? This epitope and this paratope, the antigen binding site, okay, it has to attach. Only then antigen antibody interaction will take place. So when it comes near, immediately as it comes near, this virus, I told you it is an RNA virus, it has high mutation ability. It will change the shape of the epitope like this. Okay, now can this bind now? It's not possible. The shape is very much different. So your body will send another immunoglobulin with a matching one. Okay, but again, as soon as the immunoglobulin comes here, right, it has undergone further mutations. The shape has become like this. Is this okay? Now it will keep on mutating. That is why your immunoglobulins cannot work against this. Okay, hope you understood this. Everybody has understood. This is the mutation ability of an RNA virus. Okay, is this fine? So please read acquired immunity and wait a minute. Before you read it, I'll just give you some examples of immunoglobulins. Okay, examples of immunoglobulins. You have IgA, immunoglobulin A. Okay, then IgD, okay, IgE, IgG, and IgM. There are actually 5 of them. Okay, in your textbook, I think they have just mentioned 4. There are actually 5 of them. Okay, IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, and there's IgM. I think M is not mentioned in your textbook, but this is also present. Okay, so there are 5 of them actually. Okay, this M is a very bulky one. So hope you understood this. Everybody has followed this. Is this okay? The examples are fine. Huh? So do one thing, read up till that, read the first 2 paragraphs of acquired immunity, see if it's okay. What is acquired immunity? The shape of that antibody molecule. Antibody, or it's called immunoglobulin. Okay, antibody is immunoglobulin. So please read those 2 paragraphs, see if it's fine. Then we'll come to the 2 types of acquired immunity. This is very important, okay? And mark it as a 3-mark question. 3-mark CBSE board question. Very, very important. This diagram, the labeling, you should be very familiar. Just the first 2 paragraphs. And mark it in your textbook right now. If it's over, please tell me. Just 2 paragraphs. Read it very quickly. Okay, Surya has finished. Good. Amolya, good. Devika, you are left behind. Devika, usually Devika finishes it first, right? Okay. So other people have, right, become first today. Devika. Next one. The next concept. There are two types of acquired immunity. Okay, there are 2 types of acquired immunity. So we are going to talk about the 2 types of acquired immunity. One is called antibody mediated. Okay, antibody mediated immunity. And the other is called cell mediated immunity. Okay, this antibody mediated, right? Antibody mediated. So which cell? Everybody will answer this. Okay, which cell is going to produce antibodies in response to the antigen? Which cell? Put it fast, very quickly, rapid fire. Which cell will produce? Devika, yes. Felina, B cells, right? So B cells, B lymphocytes are involved with antibody mediated immunity because B lymphocytes, yes Solomon, yes, B lymphocytes are going to produce antibodies in response to the antigen. So this type of immunity is based on B lymphocytes. Okay, and these antibodies are released into the blood. Yes or no? Antibodies will be present in your blood. So this can be called humoral. That word is also there in your textbook. Humoral immune response. It can also be called humoral immune response, or you can call it humoral immunity. So this can be called humoral immune response. Okay, now, humoral immune response. Why humoral? Humoral means body fluid. We are talking about blood. Because antibodies are released into the blood, you can also call this humoral immune response. Okay? Is this fine? Is this okay? Is this okay, everybody? Shall we move to the next one? The next one is cell-mediated immunity. You can call it CMI. Cell-mediated immunity. And in this case, T lymphocytes are involved. Okay? T lymphocytes. It's associated with T lymphocytes. So usually this is asked as a differentiate between antibody mediated immunity and cell mediated immunity, or they can ask you humoral immune response and cell mediated immunity differences. This is how the question will come. Okay, so in CMI or cell mediated immunity, which is a cell involved, T lymphocytes. Okay, T lymphocytes are involved. So I'll just explain this. Imagine there's a person who has a malfunctioning kidney. Dialysis is not working. So the final thing that can be done is a kidney transplant. Okay, the total kidney failure, dialysis is also not working. The option will be kidney transplantation. So you need a donor kidney. Yes or no? There's a donor kidney that is involved. It can be any organ. So what happens is, first they'll match your blood type, they'll match your tissue types. It should be matching. You cannot take in a totally different organ. So if it is very closely matching with yours, it can be donated, right? It can be donated. An organ can be put into from another person's body. It can be taken and put it into your own system. But the problem is, your body cells will recognize it as foreign. Okay, your T lymphocytes will immediately recognize that that's a foreign thing that has entered, and immediately it will launch an attack. Is this okay? Is this fine? So immediately when a foreign organ is entering the body, immediately the body will have a response. It will try to reject the organ. It will fight against that organ and try to reject it out of your body because it recognizes it as foreign. And this is called graft rejection. The body will reject it because it's a foreign thing. So what should be done? In order for that kidney, that new kidney to remain in the body, you need to take in immunosuppressive drugs. Immunosuppressive drugs are given to such patients. So if there's a person who has had a kidney transplant or any other organ transplant, that person has to eat or take in immunosuppressive drugs the rest of his life. Okay, if he doesn't take those immunosuppressive drugs, immediately your body will reject that foreign organ. Okay, and that can lead to the death of the person, right? This is fine. So if all people that have undergone a transplantation will have to take immunosuppressive drugs. Otherwise, that organ will not remain in the body. Is it fine, everybody? So such an immunity, it's called cell-mediated immune response. Okay, it's called CMI. It is seen usually in graft rejections. Okay, so you have to take in immunosuppressive drugs. So just go through that also, everybody. The two types of immune response. Check with your textbook, see if it's fine. Page number 151, last paragraph. This can usually come for 1 mark, or it could be a 2-mark question, CBSE board. Note it down in your textbook right now. Okay, is it done? Everybody, please underline it. Graph rejection is Devika. She's become the winner again. Where is the rest of you? Okay, Surya, Amulya. Yes, Aisha, Felina, Navaneet. Okay. So shall we come to the next type? There's another category. It's called active and passive immunity. We'll discuss that now. So next heading, active and passive immunity. Okay, what is active immunity and what is passive immunity? First, you understand the concept and then we'll go to the details. Okay, first, just imagine a foreign antigen. So this is an antigen. Okay, and this antigen has entered your body. This antigen has entered your body. So what will your body do? Inside your body, it will start producing antibodies. Yes, it will start producing antibodies. So in this case, what is actually happening? Your body is, if it is the first response, first time this antigen is entering, the body will take some time to fight against it. Yes or no? Because it's not familiar with that antigen, it will take some time. The primary response is a bit slower. So this is a slow response. Slow. It's kind of a slow response. So your body should be actively producing antibodies against this antigen. So don't you think that will take some time? Because an antigen has entered your body will see what antigen is coming in and it has to make those antibodies which is specific to that antigen. So this is going to be a slow response. This is active immunity. Because your body has to produce it. Okay, that is why it is called active. Got it? The body has to produce these antibodies for the first time. So because it is doing a lot of work, you can call it active immunity. But this is a slow response. But just imagine the other case, passive immunity. What if you are getting ready-made antibodies? What if you're getting ready-made antibodies from outside? Won't that response be faster? Do you agree? Yes, you're getting ready-made antibodies. Your body need not make anything. Ready-made antibodies are given to you. Won't that be fast? So such a response, you call it passive immunity. Okay, here you are getting ready-made antibodies are given to the body. The body need not make anything. Ready-made antibodies. This is usually seen when a newborn baby is born. Okay, when a newborn baby is born, it will drink its mother's milk, and the first milk of the mother will be a bit yellowish in color, and it is because it contains colostrum. Okay, so just note down this word. Colostrum. It is full of antibodies. So antibodies that can sustain you for a lifetime is given by this. Okay, it makes you stronger, and the children who have not fed, okay, the mother's milk will be very weak. Okay, and the children who are fed with mother's milk will have a very good immune system throughout their life. That is a significance, because you are getting ready-made antibodies right after birth. This is very, very important. Okay, and the type of antibody that is found in mother's milk, in colostrum, it is IgA. The type of antibody that is found in mother's milk, in colostrum is the first milk that is obtained. Okay, this is IgA. Is it okay? So this is why mother's milk is so very important. Earlier, Nestle, that Cerelac and all those companies, okay, they said that you need not feed the child mother's milk. Okay, you can just feed them lactogen, all those things, right? Nestle's, all those baby foods, that is enough. feeding of babies with mother's milk is not needed. There was a huge propaganda like that. Lots of children died because of that. Mothers stopped feeding them milk. They started switching over to all these branded baby milk formulas. Okay, and there was a huge case against Nestle and other companies because of this. But later they withdrew it and they said that it's just a supplement. Mother's milk is best. They have written that tag inside that in their label. Okay, mother's milk is best. This is just a supplementary feed. Is this okay? Is this fine? Everybody has got this. What is active immunity? What is passive immunity? Okay, read it. Read it. And the fetus is also receiving some ready-made antigens. Okay, the fetus, when the baby is inside the mother's womb, through the placenta, the baby and the mother are connected by placenta. So from the mother's blood, through the placenta, the baby will receive certain antibodies also. That is also passive immunity. Okay, so just read it. Read active and passive immunity. Very important. Okay, very, very important for CBSE and for entrance. This can be a CBSE board question. 2 mark. 2 mark. Active and passive immunity. Please read that paragraph, everybody, very quickly. Super important. Okay. Surya has finished reading. Aisha, good. Amulya, Devika. Okay. So the next concept, the next one, vaccination and immunization. You must be familiar with all these words, right? All of us have been vaccinated, right? Against common ailments. When right from birth, we have been vaccinated against certain diseases. So vaccination is actually who was the person who first discovered that vaccination? Who was that scientist? Vaccination for the first time. Name the scientist. You have learned it in lower classes. Which one? Who was the scientist? Nobody knows the scientist. Vaccination. Yeah? The first vaccine. Nobody knows it? No. Oh, it's not Louis Pasteur. Vaccination, the concept of vaccination was first started by Edward Jenner. Remember Edward Jenner? Cowpox. See, at that time there was smallpox. Smallpox was a very deadly disease. Just like chicken pox, you'll have those boils on your skin. But this is much worse. Okay, chicken pox is much milder, but smallpox, it's very, very crucial. Very dangerous too. Lots of people have died with smallpox. Okay, so at that time, he found that the people milking the cow is not getting smallpox. So he learned about it. He tried to find out why they are not getting smallpox. They seem to be resistant to smallpox. The reason is cows have a milder variation of the smallpox. It's called cowpox. So these people are were exposed to this cowpox. Okay, and in their body they developed a resistance. Okay, and they developed a resistance against smallpox because they were exposed to cowpox before. So cowpox is a much milder form of the smallpox. It occurs in cows. So when these people who are milking the cow were exposed to cowpox, they did not get smallpox. Got it? So this is a kind of immunity that they have. And we are going to see that. And it is from this concept, he developed the concept of vaccination, Edward Jenner. So we'll see that principle of vaccination or immunization is based upon the property of, so this is based upon the property of memory. I told you, right, your body has the ability to remember the antigen that it was exposed to before. Sometimes the memory will last for a lifetime, sometimes it will be just for a few months. Okay, that is why you have booster doses. It's not just one vaccination, you have booster doses. Maybe after a few years, one more time. Polio, right? First it is given, then there are booster doses that are given to children. Got it? So this is based upon memory. Vaccination, immunization, it's based upon memory of your cells to identify the pathogen that has entered the body before. Now you can see that what you're doing is you are injecting a weakened or an inactivated pathogen. You are not injecting a very strong pathogen into your body. You're not injecting a very strong one, but you are weakening that pathogen, or you are inactivating the pathogen and then injecting it into your system. So what will happen? What will happen? This pathogen cannot cause the disease, but it will help in the production of antibodies. Okay, when this pathogen enters your system, your body will produce antibodies against it. But this is very weak, so it's not able to cause a disease. Got it? So this is the concept. So next time, when the original pathogen is entering your body is prepared. It already has those antibodies against that pathogen. So just imagine you have polio vaccine. Okay, weakened form of that polio is given to you. Your body has already produced antibodies against it. So what if the original polio virus is entering your body? Your body is fully prepared. It has antibodies with it. It is able to destroy that polio virus. Okay, so this is how vaccination will work. Hope it's okay. So just underline that. Inactivated or weakened pathogen is introduced into the body. The antibodies are produced in the body, and when the original one enters, these antibodies will be able to fight against it. Is this fine? Vaccination is okay, everybody? I hope you have understood it. The B cells and T cells will be produced. Antibodies will be produced. Okay. So when the original one is entering, it is fully prepared. You are just preparing your body for the original one. Okay. But there's another one. There's something called passive immunization. Okay. There's another one called passive immunization. That is a bit different. Just imagine tetanus. Tetanus toxoid has entered. Imagine there was an accident. There's a huge cut in your body. So what the injection that is given is tetanus injections are given. So it is tetanus antitoxin. Okay, antitoxin is given. So it is already prepared antibodies. Already prepared antibodies are injected, because you cannot wait. Okay, you cannot wait for your body to produce antibodies, because this toxin will act immediately. Okay, if there's tetanus toxoid has entered your body, you need an immediate action. So what is done? Antitoxins are given. Okay, imagine there's a snake bite. You cannot wait for your body to produce antibodies, but because before that time the person will be dead, right? So what should be given? Immediately anti-venom is injected. That is called passive immunization. You cannot wait. If something is very serious, like example a snake bite, you are not waiting for your body to produce antibodies. Okay, what are you doing? Immediately you're taking action. You're giving that person anti-venom immediately. Similarly, if there's tetanus, you cannot wait for the body to produce antibodies. That will be very late. So what is given? Antitoxin is immediately injected into the body. Okay. So this is passive immunization. Just like passive immunity. You're already giving preformed. Okay. Preformed antibodies are injected into. This is called passive immunization. So hope you understood vaccination, passive immunization. Have you followed it? In vaccination, you are giving the person weakened or inactivated pathogen. Your body will produce antibodies. So that is going to take some time. Okay. But here in passive immunization, for example, if tetanus, if you are infected with tetanus toxin, what is given to the patient? Antitoxins are given immediately. So this is preformed antibodies. Okay, already present antibodies are given so that the person can fight against it immediately. This will take some time. Okay, this you need to act immediately. So this is passive immunization. Did you understand this concept, everybody? Have you understood this? Yes? Active and passive immunization. Dog bite, snake bite, and all that passive immunization. You cannot wait, right? Okay. So just go through it. So these days they are developing edible vaccines. Okay, you just put it in the mouth and it will dissolve, right? So no need of injections. That's much better, right? Okay, they are working on edible vaccines. They are trying to create some genetically engineered mosquitoes that can carry certain vaccines. So when a mosquito bites you, you are getting vaccinated. Instead of disease, you are getting vaccinated. Think about it. Okay, these are the research that is going on. And there are personalized vaccines for each person. Personalized vaccines are being made now. Using biotechnology, they are trying to develop personalized vaccine. So it's not a general vaccine, it is suited just for you. Okay, designer, tailor-made vaccines. Okay, just read. Okay, Aisha, Deepika has finished. What about the rest of you? Mark it as very important in your textbook. It's an expected question. Expected question. Okay, there's one more. It's called allergy. Shall we start with allergy? I think you're familiar with it. Most of us are allergic to something or the other, right? Dust allergy is a very common problem these days. Dust allergy. Most children are dust allergic. Pollution is the main factor. So allergy, you're familiar with it. So we'll do one thing. We'll make a table. Okay. Because all these points should be included. What is allergy? Okay. What is allergy? What are allergens? Okay. Examples. These are the things that you should be writing. Okay. Symptoms. Okay. Symptoms caused due to. Okay. Caused due to. Then we'll have, okay, I'll just write it here, drugs. Okay. What is recombinant DNA technology? Recombinant DNA technology is something that you do in biotechnology. Okay. You can manipulate the genetic material. You can manipulate. They have given, right? They have made hepatitis B vaccine by recombinant DNA technology. That means you are taking the gene from one organism, you are putting it in another organism. You can produce. They are using E. coli. Inside E. coli has been used to produce insulin. You learn it in biotechnology. Okay, recombinant DNA technology. You're learning it in biotechnology. You're manipulating the organisms. So normally one organism may not produce something, but using recombinant DNA technology, you can make it produce some things that it normally does not produce. Is this fine, Surya? We'll learn it. We have one whole chapter for recombinant DNA technology. Okay, so be patient. We'll learn it. No worries. And they've given that example: hepatitis B vaccine. One yeast was made to produce hepatitis B vaccine. Yeast normally does not produce that vaccine. Okay, but by genetic engineering, we have modified the yeast in such a manner that it is producing hepatitis B vaccine. So please underline that too. Okay, that's called recombinant DNA technology. Biotechnology applications, we are going to learn it. Okay, is this fine, everybody? Shall we proceed to the next one? Allergy. So first one, you're all familiar with the word allergy, right? Is there anybody who's allergic to something? Allergic to attending class? Is there anyone? Allergic to some dust, food, clothing? Surya, yes. BV, Solomon is not allergic to anything, right? Okay. So dust allergy is very, very common. Dust allergy is very common. Some of them are allergic to certain food items. Okay, shellfish, some seafoods, some of them are allergic, right? Some of them are peanut allergy. Solomon, you are allergic to peanuts. Some are allergic to soya, right? Soya products, soya bean. Some are allergic to milk. There's lactose intolerance, right? They cannot take in milk. So lots of allergies are lactose intolerant. So lots of people with number of allergies. Egg, high protein diet. Some are allergic to high proteins. Egg, if they eat eggs, too much of egg, they become allergic, right? Clothing, insect bites. If an insect bites you, your whole body will swell up, right? You can go into a shock. Some can even die. So insect bites. So lots of them, lots of allergies, right? Okay. Lactose. Okay, you were lactose intolerant. Okay. So what is allergy? No, you were not. Okay, Solomon, that's fine. So just write down a definition for allergy. You had an insect bite. Okay. What is an allergy? Okay. Exaggerated. Okay. Exaggerated response of the immune system. Okay, exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens. So this is the definition. Usually when a antigen enters your body, your antibodies will respond to it. But sometimes this response will be highly exaggerated. If a small dust particle enters you, your antibodies will respond to it in a very big manner, which is not actually needed. Such an exaggerated response is called allergy. Okay, your antibodies need not respond in such a huge manner because just a small dust has entered. Some of them are allergic to the hair of your pets, dogs, cats. You're allergic. Cat passes by your way, you'll start sneezing. Pollen grains. Okay, so spring season, such people will not like spring season. When all flowers are in bloom, such people will not like it because you'll constantly start sneezing. Okay, so this is an exaggerated response. And what are allergens? Any substance, okay, any substance that cause allergy. Okay, so you can just make a note of it. Any substance that cause allergy, you can call it allergen. And we'll write a few examples. It can be anything. Okay, it can be dust, it can be pollen grains, it can be animal dander. Dander means hair. Okay, it can be animal dander, that is hair. Okay, it can be certain food items, it can be anything. Lots and lots of allergies. The list is endless. Symptoms, what are the symptoms? So if you have allergy, what will be the main symptom? You might have experienced a dust allergy. People, tell me, what will be the main symptoms that you experience? Sneezing, right? You sneeze and sneeze. Sneezing. Then watery eyes, your eyes will become red. Water will start coming out, right? Runny nose. Then difficulty in breathing, rashes, right? Your body might become red in color. Rashes are formed. So all these are symptoms of allergy. You write it. Sneezing. Okay, sneezing is one common one. Then watery eyes. Okay, then running nose, right? Difficulty in breathing. This is in case of a severe allergy. Okay, difficulty in breathing and in severe allergy. The normal one is sneezing, watery eyes, and all that. Okay, itching. Okay, your body is itching. Rashes can be formed if it is a food allergy. Your mouth will start itching. It can swell up, right? Rashes can form. All these are symptoms of allergy. And why does your body respond like this? Why all these symptoms? Okay, it's because of release of certain chemicals. Okay, release of certain chemicals like histamine and serotonin. Just underline these, okay? Because of the release of certain chemicals like histamine and serotonin from mast cells. These are special immune cells in your body. These are called master regulator of the immune system. Mast cells are the master regulators of immune system. Okay, so these mast cells, they are going to produce certain chemicals like histamine and serotonin. That is why you get rashes. The part will swell up. Okay, it's because of these chemicals. The reason is when a part swells up, the blood flow to that region will be enhanced. White blood cells can move to that region more. That is why the body is swelling up certain regions. And if you touch those regions, you'll find that it is a bit warm. Right? If a part of your body is swelled up, if you touch that part, you find that it has become a little warmer, right? Rashes, the red color, you'll feel a bit warm there, especially in your mouth region and all those things, right? Okay, and that is because two chemicals are released, histamine and serotonin, by mast cells. That is why you have all these symptoms. Is this okay? So, which are the drugs that can be taken? See, if you can reduce the amount of histamine, symptoms of allergy can be suppressed. Okay, so you will have antihistamine. Okay, antihistamine tablets, adrenaline, and steroids are given. Okay, so adrenaline and steroids, they will suppress that allergic reactions. Or you can provide antihistamines or anti-serotonins can be given. Is this fine? Everybody has got this? Everybody has understood this? Okay. So these are the points that you should be writing. What is allergy? What are allergens? The examples. Okay. First you write the examples given in your textbook and then you can go for any other example. Okay. Symptoms. Why is it caused? What is the cause of it? And the drugs. These are the things you should be writing. Okay. Now just go through it. Read it once. And make a table like this. Okay. Make a table. Read it once and then tell me. Mites. What are mites? The small microscopic organisms that it might live in your bed, inside the bed. Huh? Yes or no? Mite. They bite you. Small organisms. They are found in maybe animal skin. They might be in your old bed pillows and all that. There will be bed mites. Small insects. Mota, right? Just like mota, right? Okay, is that fine? So this is allergy. You have written that AIDS and cancer as a table, right? All of you? You have written AIDS, cancer. You have made it into a table. Have you? All of you have done it? Make it into a table and learn. So I think it is better you can remember all those things together if you make it into a table, or you might forget a few points. Okay? Make it into a big chart, write down all those things together. So when you see it together, you'll remember it. Got it? Shall we come to the next one? All of you are ready, right? Next is called autoimmunity. Autoimmunity. Auto means self. So what if your antibodies are attacking you? Instead of antigens, what if the antibodies attacking yourself, your own cells? That would be trouble, right? Instead of attacking the foreign things, your antibodies are attacking your own cells. So what happens is, in the long run, you will end up with a number of other diseases. So this is called self-immunity or autoimmunity. Just underline what is autoimmunity. Okay, because of certain genetic or unknown reasons. Most of the reasons are unknown. Why is your immune system behaving like this? Okay, most of the time there's no particular reason. Sometimes it can be genetic. Because of genetic or certain unknown reasons, your body attacks self cells. So that is the definition. Because of certain genetic and maybe some unknown reasons, your body is attacks self cells. Okay, is this fine? Your body means your antibodies are attacking your own cells. That is called autoimmunity. It's a very serious problem. In some cases, it will be very extreme. You cannot do anything about it. There are a few diseases which you might be knowing. One is called rheumatoid arthritis. Okay, rheumatoid arthritis, extreme pain in the joints. The cells in your joints are affected. There's a slow degradation of those cells. So what happens is there's an extreme pain in the joints. There's no treatment like that for just some painkillers you can use. Okay, so this is rheumatoid arthritis. Then there is Addison's disease. Okay, Addison's disease, and it affects the adrenal glands. Okay, Addison's disease, adrenal glands. Then Graves' disease. Graves' disease. Just note down these. This is the one given in your textbook. So if you are asked for the CBSE board examination, this example will be enough. All the other examples are for your entrance examinations. Okay. So Graves' disease, it is affecting your thyroid gland. Thyroid glands are affected. All these are autoimmune diseases. Your own antibodies are attacking you. Is this okay? Is this okay? Usually what is the situation? Your antibodies will be able to differentiate between self and non-self. This is one thing that they have. They are able to identify who's their own cells, and they are able to identify which is foreign. This is the normal situation. That is why when you put some other organ inside you, right? If there is a transplant that is taking place, it is able to identify the foreign organ. So normally your immune system has the ability to identify self and non-self. But in this case, because of some reason or the other, it is not able to do so. So it is attacking your own cells. That is called autoimmunity. So please note down this word also, self and non-self. Okay, so just go through it. That is your next one. We'll learn immune system and then we'll wind up. Okay. So one last thing, that is immune system, and then we'll wind up. Before that, just read autoimmunity. A small paragraph. Rheumatoid arthritis was a 1-mark question. This was a 1-mark question for your CBSE board examination. Example of autoimmune disease. This is the only example given in your textbook. Okay. Devika, Amulya, Surya, you finished reading. Did you underline all these things? Did you underline the words in your textbook? Self and non-self. Your body cells attacking your own cells. Example, please underline it in your textbook, okay? Everybody, mark it in your text. Don't keep your textbook very neat. Let it be as dirty as possible. Write a number of things in your textbook. Use your textbook very well. If your textbook is very neat, that means you're not learning it. Okay? Shall we come to the last point for today? That is immune system. So by this, we have completed one major part of the chapter. The last part of your chapter is kind of general knowledge type. Okay. drug abuse, alcohol abuse. You might be familiar with all these things, right? What is drug abuse? What is alcohol abuse? Addiction? How to, okay, what are the preventive steps? All these are kind of GK for awareness. So we'll just go through that also. That is the last part of the chapter. By this, the chapter will be over. So today, we'll see the immune system. Immune system. So just like your skeletal system, muscular system, reproductive systems, circulatory system, respiratory systems, you have an immune system also. So what are the things that are coming in the immune system? We'll see that. First, you'll write functions. You might be knowing a few functions. We have already discussed a few functions. Okay, one by one you tell me, what will be the function of your immune system? One by one, you can just quickly answer. Everybody can put a point. What will be the function of an immune system? We have seen immune system so far. So what do you think is the function? Protection against antigens. Yes. Then we'll write. We have learned a number of things, right? In autoimmunity, it is there. In allergy, okay. So write it. First one, recognition or recognizing antigens. Okay, it has the ability to recognize antigens. It is able to see which are the antigens. I told you self and non-self. Then after it recognizes the antigens, it will respond to it, right? Response against the antigens. So it is not just enough to identify the antigens. You know which are the antigens that should come in. Okay, then you should respond to it. So there's recognition, then response. Okay, next one. Once if the antigen has entered, okay, it should form a memory, right? Only then the next time it comes in, you can have a much more severe attack. So it is, the next one is memory. Memory of specific antigens. This is also very important. There are memory cells for this. It's very essential that you have a memory of all the antigens that have attacked you. Sometimes this memory is for a lifetime. Sometimes it is just for a few months. Okay. So this is the other one. Next one. Plays a role in allergic reactions. Plays a role in allergic reactions, autoimmunity, organ transplantation, organ transplant. Okay, so just make a note of the functions. First, it need to recognize the antigens. Second, it need to respond against those antigens. It should form a memory, right? And it is also playing a role in allergic reactions. It is playing a role in autoimmunity. It is also playing a role in organ transplantation. Is this okay? First point, functions. What is the next one? Immune system includes. So what are the things your immune system include? So just like if I ask you what does your respiratory system contain, you can say nose, okay, the nasal chamber, trachea, right? Bronchi, bronchioles, lungs, alveoli, all those things you will say. So if I ask you what does your immune system contain, what does it include? What all can you say? It includes lymphoid organs. Okay, it includes lymphoid organs. Okay, then lymphoid tissue. There are lymphoid cells. Okay, there are lymphoid cells, and one more, there are antibodies. So all these things together, you call it the immune system. So what are the things coming in your immune system? Once again, there are lymphoid organs, there are lymphoid tissues, there are lymphoid cells, and of course there are antibodies. Okay, So these are the things coming in your immune system. All these things together, you call it the immune system. Are these 2 points clear, everybody? What are the functions? What does it include? Is it clear? Shall we proceed to the next point? Okay. We are going to learn all these things separately. So first one, we'll take lymphoid organ. So we are going to learn about the immune system. The first thing that comes in immune system are lymphoid organs. So I'll write the heading, lymphoid organs. Right. So the first one is lymphoid organ. So what lymphoid organs, it can be divided into 2 categories. This is very important. Lymphoid organs can be divided into 2 categories. One is primary lymphoid organ and the second is secondary lymphoid organ. Okay, so what is the classification? Lymphoid organs can be divided into 2. One is primary, the other is secondary. So I'll just write a few functions, few examples of primary. Okay, one is bone. Okay, bone marrow. Then thymus. Okay, bone marrow and thymus, they are primary lymphoid organs. And why do you call them primary? Because it is in this region, immature, write down the function too, okay? Immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes. Just note down this, okay? So what are primary? Once again, what are primary lymphoid organs? Examples are bone marrow and thymus. Now, why do you call them primary? Because this is the place where your WBC cells, your lymphocytes are born. So this is the place where they are born and they are maturing. Got it? So the place of birth and the place of maturity is the primary lymphoid organ. Where do they grow and mature? Some of them grow and mature in the bone marrow. Some of them grow and mature in the thymus. Actually, T lymphocytes are maturing in the thymus. Do you know where thymus is located? Last year, I think we have seen it. It's a lobed organ near your heart. Okay, lobed organ that is found near your heart, that is thymus. And at the time of birth, the thymus is very large. But as you grow older, the size of that organ will become small and small. I think last year we have learned it. Chemical control and coordination, I think we have learned thymus gland. Haven't we? And I think some of you have presented thymus gland. Yes. Okay. So T lymphocytes are maturing in the thymus gland. I think Surya, was it you who presented thymus? Who was the person? So thymus, T lymphocyte. Okay. So what happens here? Why are they called primary? Because immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen sensitive lymphocytes. They are growing there. Okay. Your lymphocyte means, what are lymphocytes? WBC cells. They differentiate. That means they grow and they become matured at this location. That is why you call them primary. Then secondary. So what is secondary? This is the place where they do their job. Secondary lymphoid organs are the places where WBC cells do their job. So this is the place where they are born and this is the place where they go for work. Right? So we'll write that also, secondary. After maturation, just note down this, okay? Lymphocytes migrate to secondary lymphoid organs. So they are born here, the WBC cells, they are born here and then they migrate to the secondary lymphoid organs for their job. Okay. to interact with antigens. So this is the location where they are working, right? This is the location where they are born. This is the location where lymphocytes actually work. So we can write a few examples. Spleen, examples, spleen. It's one of the largest organ of the lymphatic system. Just make a note, okay? Spleen, underlined in your textbook, it's given. Largest organ in the lymphatic system. Okay, they filter the blood, function. Spleen mainly filters the blood. It is a bean-shaped organ located under the rib cage above the stomach. Bean-shaped organ located under the rib cage above the stomach. Okay, it's also called the graveyard of RBC. Spleen is also called the graveyard of RBC. So did you understand about the spleen, everybody? It's also called the graveyard of RBC. Fine? Is it okay? This is the first example of secondary lymphoid organ. Then there are tonsils. You might be familiar, right? Tonsils. It is a soft tissue mass at the back of the throat, a pharyngeal region. It's usually found in that pharyngeal region, tonsils. That is the secondary lymphoid organ. Okay. Then there are lymph nodes. Lymph nodes. Lymph nodes, they are found in that lymph vessels. Okay. At many regions, there are swellings. Those swellings in the lymph vessels, you call them lymph nodes. And they are for trapping the microbes and antigens which enter the lymph tissue. Okay, lymph nodes will trap antigens that enter the lymph tissue. Hope it's okay. So these are secondary lymphoid organs. Everybody understood this? Spleen, tonsils, lymph nodes. Okay, just check whether any other example is given in your textbook. Peyer's patches. Okay, Peyer's patch in the ileum region. Just write down that also. Peyer's patches. They are usually found in the ileum region. Okay, the small intestine. Okay, they prevent pathogens from entering the intestinal region, small intestine. Okay, so all these things, spleen, tonsils, lymph nodes, Peyer's patches. All these are secondary lymphoid organs. Okay, is it fine? Shall we see the next one? Lymphoid tissue. So lymphoid organs are okay. Next one. Next one, lymphoid tissue. Okay, we'll wind up this. Okay, lymphoid tissues. So that is the next point. So just write down location. First one, location. Where do you find lymphoid tissue? You find them on the lining of major tracts. Okay, so which are the major tracts? Especially respiratory tract, okay, digestive tract, urinogenital tract. Okay, so where will you find lymphoid tissue? On the linings of respiratory tract, digestive tract, your urinogenital tract. Okay, and one example, we'll call it malt. Okay, one example of the lymphoid tissue is malt. What is malt? Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Please underline this. This is a 1-mark question. What is malt? Expansion. Okay, mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. This is called malt. Okay, and this one is 50% of the lymphoid tissue. So lymphoid tissue, 50% is made up of malt. Okay, 50% of lymphoid tissue is made up of malt. Is this fine? Everybody has got it? Malt. What is the full form? Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. 1 mark. Okay, CBSE 1 mark question. So the second structure is over. So in immune system, first thing we have learned lymphoid organs, right? Second one we have learned lymphoid tissue. Now what is remaining? What is remaining? The rest of them you know. Which is the third one? What is the third one? Lymphoid cells, right? Lymphoid cells we have already learned. Which are the lymphoid cells? Give me the example of 2 lymphoid cells that you have already learned. We need no further explanation. B cells and T cells. These are the lymphoid cells. Okay, so we have already learned it. And what is the fourth one? Fourth one, antibodies, right? Antibodies. They are produced by the B cells. And which are the antibodies? IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, and IgM. The 5 antibodies. That also you are familiar. Got it? So shall we wind up today's class? Read this properly. In your textbook, they have given it in a big paragraph. I have divided it into different sections, so it's easy for you to learn. So we'll just wind up. We were talking about immune system. In immune system, what all things would you find? Lymphoid organs, primary and secondary. Okay, then you have lymphoid tissue. One main thing that you should learn in lymphoid tissue is malt, mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Okay, and the third one, lymphoid cells. We have already talked about B cells and T cells. B cells will produce antibodies. T cells are helping B cells. And which are the last group? Antibodies. Antibodies, there are 5 of them, but only 4 is given in your textbook. But actually there are 5. IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, and IgM. Which antibody is found in mother's milk, in colostrum? Which antibody is found? Which antibody is found in mother's milk? IgA, right? Which is involved in immune response. Sorry, which is involved in allergic reactions. Which is involved in allergic reactions? IgE. So these 2 questions can come for 1 mark. In mother's milk, IgA. Okay, the one that is involved with allergic response, IgE. Please don't forget it. So that is the end of today's session. Please go through all these things. Make proper notes. Put it into a table. Okay, and learn. So see you tomorrow, dear children. Thank you. Thank you. Shall we wind up? Any doubt? We'll wind up. Okay, any doubt, you WhatsApp me. Okay, thank you then.